indication of future results. Opinions expressed are solely those of Gary Boatman and staff. The information discussed has been derived from sources believed to be reliable but is not guaranteed as to the accuracy and completeness and does not purport to be a complete analysis of the materials discussed. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Pennsylvania or otherwise legally permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Purchases are subject to suitability. This requires a review of investors' objective risk tolerance and time horizons. Investing always involves risk and possible loss of capital. Advisory services offered through Boatman Wealth Management LLC, an investment advisor in the state of Pennsylvania.
Good morning. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman, and this is your financial future. We're here in WMBS every Saturday morning, and we want to enrich your family's financial life. People are more and more responsible. And we always talk, we want to control what we can control. Identity theft is a huge problem. And consumers lost, in this 2024, just last year, consumers lost a record $5.7 billion. And crypto scams make up a big slice of that. They're not all. Crypto has gone way up in value. There's a lot of questions about it, but there's a lot of fraud in there. And out of the $5.7 billion, $2.95 billion was lost to people impersonating trusted entities, such as the government and banks and things like that. Now, we had trained my mom. My mom was a widow for 17 years, and my dad was an engineer. He was the dominant financial person in their relationship. And when we lost my dad, we worked with my mom, and we told my mom, you never give your Social Security number to anybody that calls you on the phone. If they call up and say, well, we're the IRS, or we're your bank, or we're this or that, an insurance company, what is your Social Security number? You do not give it to them. If you make the call, you may have to prove that it's you. But they all know your number, and they're not going to ask you that. More and more things when they are verifying it. But again, if they call, you shouldn't give them anything. But as part of trying to tighten up security, oftentimes they're only asking for the last 4 digits, not the whole number. But if they call you, do not give your Social Security number. The government will not send you emails or text, and banks won't really do that either. The IRS, if they have a question on your tax return, will send you a series of letters. And, nobody knocks on your door. Sometimes you get these things, they sound very authentic. You might even see on your caller ID, IRS or such and such bank or this or that. There is technologies that scammers use where they can do it. They can do logos. Just this week, I'd been getting a series from Comcast is my provider for television and internet. And I've been getting some emails that they changed their policies, and I had to opt into this thing to accept them. They change my policies all the time. All the cable companies, you're constantly seeing your bill go up. We used to have free TV, right? You had an antenna outside and you got free TV, and now people are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They never had me opt in before to change my thing. And they're telling me they're going to shut down my email if I don't opt in. I called Comcast directly, not any number that's in there because it's easy to put it in. Some of these emails, supposedly from Comcast, had an email of Gmail. No big company is going to use Hotmail or Gmail or Google, Yahoo, like that. It's going to be the company name. Occasionally, I got some that said Comcast.net. Those are what individuals have. Comcast.com is the corporate account. I called the number, and it was a fake. So what these scam sites want to do in the emails and in text messages, they want you to click in. Sometimes they can seize control of your computer or your phone, and a lot of people have a lot of personal information, banking information, and they can hack into those things. So don't click on any links. Beware of telephone numbers that they give you. See what the official number is. Look it up yourself. But to help you with that, on our website, boatmanwealthmanagement.com, we have a shortcut, bwm.com. You just type in those 5 letters, .com, and we have a cyber website. On there, we update it each month, and we have the newest scams to help protect your family. You can see what software is vulnerable. You can see what scams are going on. But beware, there is a lot of people out there trying to fish and do things. That's why sometimes we talk about checking your credit report. That's something that everybody should do once a year. The official government website is annualcreditreport.com. There's no cost for that. You can see the 3 major credit bureaus, and you can see your activity on there. A lot of it's duplicated between the different ones, but there is some differences because not every creditor reports to every credit bureau. But you can see any accounts open on there, anything else. From what's in the credit bureau files is how your credit score is dictated. If there is a mistake, you can send in and say it's a mistake. You cannot, something that is true, you can't dispute that and just get it to go away. Be careful of paying any of these services that say for a certain fee they are going to make your credit report look better. They can't do it. Stuff that's actual is going to be on your credit report. If you didn't pay your bills, if you had a bankruptcy, if you had this or that, that's going to be on there. They can't make that stuff disappear, so don't get suckered into that. But check your credit report. If you see an account you don't have, notify both the credit bureau and that company right away, and that's a great way to monitor. So, credit fraud is big. Let us help you. If you have questions, give us a call, 724-684-6600. And remember, you're responsible for protecting stuff. We often say when you're buying something online, use a credit card, not a debit card. Credit cards usually have a $50 limit. If you report right away, you wouldn't be responsible for more than $50. Sometimes credit or debit cards have that same $50, but there's a huge difference. If somebody got into your bank account, which is what your debit card's tied to, and they emptied it out, you could go for a long while before you got your money back. When it's a credit card, it's the financial institution's money, not yours. So use credit cards when you're buying online. It's an extra layer of protection. If you don't get, you can file a report with the credit card company to fight it if it was concert tickets you didn't get or something like that. So we're going to talk a little bit now about Social Security. Social Security is a retirement service benefit plan that people pay into, them and their employees. Oftentimes, people don't understand the basics of Social Security, and that's an important foundation piece in retirement planning. We help people figure out when to start their Social Security and how to maximize the amount you get. Maximizing can make tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. So let's talk for a minute. We're talking retirement Social Security here. We're not talking disability, or we're not talking Social Security for kids. Let's talk about basic Social Security. Social Security, you pay into it and your employee. You pay half and they pay half. This money gets credited to your account, and when you are going to go to retire, Social Security takes the 35 highest earning years that you have on your record. If you don't have 35, if you had 30, you would have 30 earning years and 5 years of zero. And no matter what the age is, they're going to use 35. From that, they calculate what they call your primary insurance amount. That is how much you would get at full retirement age. So to keep our example simple here today, let's say that you were going to get $1,000 a month at full retirement age. If you started taking Social Security, if you were born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. If you started at 62, which is the earliest you can take retirement, if you haven't been widowed, they are going to take about 30% away. So instead of getting a $1,000 monthly check, you are going to get a $700 monthly check. That's a big difference. Now, the next year, if there is a 2% cost of living, Social Security is one of the few retirement accounts that has a cost of living to it. Let's just say that it's 2%. If you got 2% on $1,000, you got an extra $20. If you got 2% on $700, you only got $14. So you're $6 behind. And the average check is much bigger than $1,000. But this compounds. And so the following year, if you would go, and if it went up 2%, you'd be getting 2% on 1,020 or on 714. Over the years, this makes a big difference. So once you start taking Social Security, when you take it is critical. We can help you figure that out. We can run a Social Security maximization report for you if you call Boatman Wealth Management at 724-684-6600. We're going to take a short break and we'll continue our discussion on Social Security.
Did you know the average 65-year-old couple, according to Fidelity Investments, will spend $235,000 on health care over their lifetime? And that does not include long-term care costs on medical expenses. If you are approaching age 65 or getting ready to retire, you will need to sign up for Medicare. When that time comes, it is best to talk to a company like Boatman Wealth Management that offers many options as opposed to hearing from only one company. Costs and plans will vary from person to person. Clients at Boatman Wealth Management are thankful that they can look into a plan that's best for each person and based on their needs. Their goal with Boatman Wealth Management is to keep your out-of-pocket costs as low as possible for your situation. If you are approaching 65 or planning to retire, call the office of Boatman Wealth Management at 724-684-6600. That's 724-684-6600 to get answers to your Medicare questions versus 1-800 whoever answers the phone.
Good morning. I'm Certified Financial Gary Boatman, and this is your financial future. We were talking about Social Security before the break. So that's the way that you'd get it on your own life. Now you can get Social Security on your spouse. If you have been married for at least 9 months and the marriage didn't end because of an accidental death, your spouse can get onto your record. Why do they have that 9-month waiting period? They're trying to get rid of deathbed marriages where somebody who would have never got married does because they want the other person to get their Social Security. So if your spouse never worked outside of the home, had no work record of their own, when they reached Social Security, their full retirement, doesn't matter about you, doesn't matter if you went early, if the $1,000 that we used before the break, as an example, was what you would have got at full retirement age, if you've been married at least 9 months and your spouse never had a work record outside of the house, they at their full retirement age would be eligible to get $500. They also would get cost of living increases. Usually they're announced in October and they take effect in January. Now, let's say that your spouse had a part-time job or over the years, maybe took care of the kids and worked for a few years after the kids grew up and that, and their own benefit would have been $300. They would first, Social Security Administration would first look at your spouse's record. They would give them the $300 that they were entitled, and then they shouldn't be penalized because they worked. So half of your $1,000 is still $500. They would be given $200 off of your record so that they got their $500. If they had worked more and say their benefit on their own would have been $750, then half of your $1,000, still $500, $750's higher, so they would get their $750, but they wouldn't get anything off of yours. But if they were getting $750 and you were getting $1,000, that's $1,750 coming in a month from Social Security. That can be taxed 0%, 50%, or 85%, depending on your overall income. Now, upon the death of one spouse, that Social Security goes away. The good news is, if there is any good news on the first death, is it's the lower Social Security. So in our last example, if one spouse was getting $1,000 and the other was getting $750, no matter if the one getting $750 was the one that passed away, theirs would stop and the spouse would keep getting $1,000, the surviving spouse. If the spouse that passed away was the one getting $1,000 in Social Security, then the survivor would give up their $750 and they would then get the $1,000 for the rest of their life, plus cost of living. Social Security and taxes are gender neutral. That means either party, it doesn't matter male or female, the same rules apply to both. And so how you take that is very, very important. Let's look at a few spatial rules on that. That was spousal. The first part we talked about was spousal. Second part was survivors. To get spousal, you can get, if you got divorced, as long as you were married at least 10 years, then, and you did not remarry, you could collect off of an ex-spouse, even if the ex-spouse remarried. Social Security can be complicated. Social Security staff is stretched thin, and they can answer questions, but they don't give you advice on how to maximizing like we do at Boatman Wealth Management. 724-684-6600. But as long as you didn't remarry and you'd been married for at least 10 years, then you can collect spousal. And it doesn't affect a new spouse. It doesn't affect an old spouse. Theoretically, if somebody was married 3 times for 10 years at a time and none of those people remarried, you could have, and he was married again, you could have 4 people collecting off of one record. Doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it does. Survivors is different. As long as you were married 10 years for survivors and you didn't remarry, you could collect survivors off of an ex. If you remarried after you had reached age 60 and you had a new spouse and you'd been married for 10 years, potentially you could collect survivors off the earlier spouse, but not spousal. So Social Security is very important. What if you are already getting it, but you're not sure you've got or getting all that you're entitled to? We've developed a tool that we call the Social Security Audit, which helps determine if you're entitled to more. We have found some people on that. I'm not going to say it's the majority, but we found some. There's no cost or obligation. So if you want to be sure you're getting all that you should, 724-684-6600. And we'll be glad to help you with those things. So now we're going to, there's lots and lots of talk about tariffs. And the biggest retailer in the world is Walmart. And they are known as strong negotiators. Walmart is known for its low prices, and They had a different strategy. A number of years ago, Kmart was much bigger than Walmart, and Kmart had a high-low strategy. And their sale items would be okay. I don't think there's any Kmart. I heard there may be one left in Puerto Rico, but they were the biggest retailer in the world, in the United States at one time, and now they're out of business. But their sale price might be pretty good, but their other stuff on the counter was probably higher price. Walmart has been known for low prices forever. When Sam Walton first started, the famous story is down in Benton, Arkansas. He had 16, 17 Ben Franklin stores. They were franchise stores that he owned. And he got one of the oil companies. They used to have all kinds of deals. If you would advertise, or if you'd put it on an end counter or this and that, you could get $1, $2 a case off. And of course, then you could buy oil for like 99 cents a quart instead of today. It's crazy how much it can cost a quart. But Sam said, I don't want any deals. What I want is your lowest everyday price. And he talked to some companies, and he finally got one of them to go along with it. And Sam really promoted the heck out of that oil, and he stacked it out on the ends, and he had a good price on it. And most of the oil he sold was that. And people would come in just because that oil was such a good deal. Sam used that strategy over and over and over again to get low prices. Walmart is pretty disciplined in their prices, and they don't have to use a lot of importers because they're so big they can import themselves. They had said that tariffs could affect prices. They got some criticism on that, but it's true. Tariffs are not paid by the foreign country. Tariffs are either paid by the importer, the retailer, or the customer, or some combination. Now, there are some items that maybe are used as a loss leader that maybe a retailer is willing to say, okay, I won't make anything on this. I'll eat the tariffs because they'll come in and they'll buy it and I'll sell them something else. You cannot have a loss leader on everything or you're out of business. There was a recent thing published on CNBC that showed some examples of prices that have jumped up mostly because of tariffs already. This compared May 20th to July 7th. Remember, a lot of the reciprocal tariffs haven't gone into effect at this time. But one 12-piece cookware set went from $99 to $149. A children's 3-in-1 travel, it was for parents to take along, had a stroller and a bed net. It went up $100 from $199 to $299. It was amazing how much some coffees went up from $16.43 to $19.24 and things like that. There are certain items we don't know how tariffs are going to play out, but tariffs do raise prices, or else they cut profits for the retailers. For the manufacturers. They cannot eat all of that. So we don't know. If prices go up, that's what causes inflation. Nobody knows for sure. So we want to keep track. We want to control what we can. If there's furniture, major electronics or something, we're seeing it in a number of car prices. Some companies are saying they haven't gone up for tariffs yet. We don't know how it's going to shake out. But if prices do go up, then that causes inflation and interest rates won't go down. If the unemployment rate starts to go up, then the Fed will definitely lower interest rates because that's what they have to do to keep full employment. So we don't know how everything's going to shake out, but you need to watch your budget, make sure you have enough emergency money, and be prepared for control what you can control. We're going to take one last break, and then we'll wrap up with your financial future.
When it comes to taxes, no one wants to pay more than legally required, yet many people actually do. The first financial mistake most people make is that they do not have a written financial plan that covers life's many challenges, including taxes. Many people just do tax preparation for April 15th instead of tax planning. Without proper tax planning, what is known as the widow's penalty, a surviving spouse can go into a much higher tax bracket and may even see their Medicare payment increase. Owning the wrong investments can also make your taxes higher. And without proper tax planning, your heirs may pay much more in taxes than necessary. Boatman Wealth Management reminds you that it's not just how much you earn that is important, it's how much you get to keep. To learn how you may be able to lower your tax bill, call the office of Boatman Wealth Management at 724-684-6600.
Good morning. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman, and this is your financial future. This is the time to be thinking about tax planning. The big, beautiful bill gave us an extension of the first Trump tax cuts. They added a few other things. But that is a great planning option because it was going to expire at the end of the year. That's good for most of us that it was extended. If you have large amounts of money in qualified accounts, things like 401ks, IRAs, you need to be thinking about it now. Once we hit December 31st, you lost another year. We don't know it. It was going to be the last year if they wouldn't have been extended, so thank goodness they were extended. But by the time, here we are in August, we're going to be to the end of the year, and you're going to get busy with the holidays before you know it, back to school, football season and everything else. So you need to be thinking about taxes now. If you want to lower your lifetime taxes, give us a call at 724-684-6600, and we can help you see how we have a good chance of lowering your tax bills. I've mentioned that we're working with some top tax strategists that have over 40 strategies to deal with things such as selling a business, selling investment property, things like that. Depreciation recapture can take a large part of your sales. There may be some strategies if you need to supplement your income where a lot of advisors would say, "I'll sell it, pay the taxes, and we'll invest the difference." What if we could defer the taxes and what you'd pay in taxes, we can get that earning an investment on you? In a lot of cases, we can. 724-684-6600. Talk about Medicare. If you are making Medicare decisions right now, there are certain coverages that the Uniontown Hospital is not accepting. My daughter Kelly is aware of all those things. She helps people save money on their Medicare insurance. She has all the top companies. She finds the one that fits your needs best, depending on what your doctors are or what your medicines are. Two spouses do not have to be on the same one. So if you are coming up to starting Medicare, Medicare is an 80-20 program with lots of deductibles and co-pays. There are ways to help cover that. Some of them are free. People say, how can you get all these benefits for free and maybe even additional benefits that Medicare, standard Medicare, doesn't offer? The government pays these insurance companies a certain amount, around $500 every month, to take over your care. You've paid taxes into Medicare and your employer has your whole life. Without Medicare, many people's retirements would be very difficult because healthcare costs usually go up as you age. Kelly can look at all the top companies. She can find out what your best options are. So again, Kelly can be reached at the office at 724-684-6600. As we're wrapping up the show today, if you are down because you have a CD renewing or a money market and you see those rates keep going down, there are some options that offer at guaranteed rates, much higher interest payments to you, and we can find ways of doing it in a tax-efficient way. You are more responsible today for your family's financial future than you ever were, so why not make it the best? I've been a certified financial planner for over 34 years. We've helped hundreds of people with their retirement. Everyone is different. Everyone's starting at a different place, and everyone has a little bit different goals, but there's a lot of common denominators. Let us help with your family in the best financial shape possible. To reach us, give us a call, 724-684-6600. And have a great day.
Certified financial planner Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Management reminds you that although Social Security is a valuable retirement asset for most people, many miss out on tens of thousands of dollars of potential income. If you are approaching retirement or considering starting Social Security, take advantage of the free Social Security Maximization Report by calling Boatman Wealth Management at 724-684-6600. It just might put thousands of dollars in your pocket. Already receiving Social Security? Make sure you are receiving all you deserve by calling Boatman Wealth Management for their free Social Security audit. The recently passed Social Security Fairness Act could make you eligible for additional benefits. Social Security planning is important for everyone, especially for people with large qualified retirement accounts such as IRAs, 401ks, and TSP. With proper planning and a call to Boatman Wealth Management, you may be able to save thousands of dollars in taxes. Make your retirement the best it can be. Call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-684-6600.
The preceding program was recorded for playback at this time. WMBS time is 8:52. The daily obituary announcements are next.
Main Street Theater Company presents Anything